G'day, Stu from UAVfutures here, and today we're checking out this purple menace right here. Now, this is very interesting because this is the Eachine Wizard. Now, let me say that again, Eachine. Not really something that I associate with fantastic ready-to-fly quads, because in the past, I'm just going to put this out there, I think Eachine has made some pieces of junk. So when this thing turned up and I actually had a quick squiz at what's on here, I couldn't believe it. Like, this thing is rocking some serious components. 2205, 2300 kV motors, BioHeli SESCs, F3 flight controller, 200 milliwatt VTX, a proper FPV camera, and a decent carbon frame. Are you kidding me? This thing, look, what is this thing? What's going on? Whoever's working over at Eachine, awesome job. So what we're going to do, we're going to be sticking this on the bench. We're giving it a detailed rundown, breakdown, whatever you want to call it, because finally, I guess on these first impressions, it looks like we might have an awesome ready-to-fly racer. So this is the Wizard. Let's quit rambling and stick it on the bench. Just one other thing too, you know what's crazy? This quad right here, ready to fly, almost ready to fly, because there is a ready to fly option, but this is the almost ready to fly. It's 126 bucks. I don't get how that can be that cheap for this sort of quadcopter. Rightio, so here it is out of the box. I've put the props on because I just wanted to see how it looks, and I love the color theme that it's rocking. This is definitely the best color themed quad, I can tell straight away when I've got it on the bench. And just very quickly, I want to point out the only thing missing that you'll probably get that I don't have currently is one of these lock nuts, because I was just spinning it around, it fell off and it rolled literally along the deck and down the smallest little path and just like smallest little hole I have in the deck and disappeared into like a big drop underneath my house. So there's no way that's coming back. But that was a little bit annoying. Anyway, let's have a bit of an overview of what makes this quad so good. So of course, it's going to be the 210 size, so we're rocking some 5-inch props on here, and they're perfect if you want to, whether it be do a bit of crazy acro, some racing, or even if you want to carry a GoPro around. So you're going to have a really nice mix of agility and also some top speed and also being pretty snappy. Now, what I guess we should do, what I want to do is start and work our way from the outside in. So we'll have a look at our outside components and we'll work our way slowly inside, and then we're going to take off the top here and we'll have a look at what we've got in the internals, and then I guess we'll give it a bit of a review, the things I like, things I didn't like, and then we'll take it out and give it a bit of a fly around. So right here on the outside, like I was talking about before, we are rocking some 5-inch props. Now, something I love about this, you get, how many props do we get? Let me have a look. You actually get a bunch of props. So I think you get, how many sets is in? I think you actually get 5 sets of props. So that's crazy. Like, I've heard of, that's a really good move. So I've heard of people, you know, including 1 spare set. That's great. But to get 5 sets of props is crazy. So that's fantastic. Something I do want to point out too, these are almost identical between the King Kong 5040 tri-blades. So they're a fairly decent prop. They're not my favorite prop, but I've definitely bought some in the past. And I think, but definitely the 5040 tries with the tapered ends, that's my favorite style of prop to run. So not my favorite brand, King Kong, still awesome, but still a very good prop. I know I got these when I was flying around my GEP RC, my little GB190, so that was really good. And by sort of offering this prop, I think it's a really good mix between efficiency, thrust, and also I guess they're fairly durable and also very snappy when you're moving as well. So it's going to be very agile in the air. Now, underneath that, we actually have some purple motors, so sticking again with the purple theme, which is pretty cool. And we'll have to see how these motors go, but so far the specs sound good. So they're called M, and they're 2205 size, so that's probably the same size as the Emax motors, and they're spinning at 2300 kV. So I'll be very interested to be putting a 4S battery through these and seeing how they go. So hopefully we should get some awesome thrust. On the outside too, underneath right here, as well as being painted purple, you can see that's very cool. We actually have some LEDs. So each of these arms has an LED underneath it. So the front two are green and the back two are red, which is a bit of a pity, honestly, because I wish they could do something a little bit cooler. Maybe stick some purple ones on the back or just some white ones on the front, or something that just made it stand out a little bit, because this thing has an awesome color scheme. So I don't know why they went with such boring LEDs. Now this is probably where we get to my favorite part, and moving in right here, I'm not 100% sure if this is a rebranding or what this is, but we have some Eachine 20 amp ESCs that are BL Heli S. That's right. For this $127 ready to, like, I guess almost ready to fly racer is coming with some BL Heli S ESCs. That to me is such a good sign of where this hobby's going and just how cheap and accessible things are getting. So that is fantastic, because personally for me, I love BL Heli S and I find it flies really, really well and really, really smooth. I know some people have had some issues with it, but I definitely think that hardware generated PWM signal that comes with these is fantastic. So I am a massive fan. I don't really want to build any more quads that don't have BL Heli S ESCs. So massive props to you guys. Massive props over to you guys at Eachine for designing this and putting this in, because that is a fantastic idea. Rightio, I guess moving towards the center, so we do get a bit of a Velcro strap, so that's nothing special, but it does seem to be a rubberized one, so that's fantastic. Now, before I actually open it up and look at the internals, this reminds me very much of my drone Wolf Pup. So just the shape that this is, so it's a very, very compact sort of shape, and if I just want to point out too, if you're going to have an impact on the front, you're going to hit pretty much your arms in the front as well, so you're probably not going to bust your camera, which is fantastic. So it should be very, very strong. And regarding the arms, I think they're 4mm as well. So everything, let me just zero this in so we can make sure we get an accurate measurement. Take your guesses now. These arms coming in, yep, look at that, a 4mm arm. So this quad has seriously done its homework. It feels like someone has really helped them design something awesome. Now it's in the X configuration. I'm going to take this rubber ducky antenna off actually. Now it's in the X configuration, so you can see that's what most standard frames are, and it's made out of 4 arm pieces. I think what I really would love to see is if they included a spare arm. Look, I don't break arms that often anymore, and I think quads are getting stronger and stronger all the time, or at least offer us the option to include one as an extra, because I don't know, this thing seems so cheap anyway. To include an extra arm would just be like icing on the cake. Alrighty, let's open it up and have a look at what we've got inside. So first things first, I can already tell when I'm opening this up, it's got this carbon sheet down the side, which to be honest, I don't know if you need that or not. Like, it's probably not going to weigh too much, but I definitely think that maybe you could fly without that if you wanted to, but it is going to keep a lot of grass and stuff like that out. So let's take this top off right here. Alrighty, I'm just going to lay that to the side, maybe give us a bit more room, take this side out. Rightio, so with these sides coming off, the first thing that I want to point out is just how much room you've actually got in here. So they've really made a clean build, you know. This looks significantly better than some of my first builds. It could be probably a little bit tighter, but this is looks like 9 out of 10 craftsmanship in terms of how they've made that stack. It is, look how thin that is. It is absolutely crazy. Now this little cable right here, this is what's going to be attaching to your receiver, and that looks like it's set up ready to take S-Bus or P or whatever. Not PWM, PPM, or CPPM, that's what it is. So S-Bus probably, but that's probably what you're going to be using. So you can simply hook up something like your XSR very easily. You might have to do a little bit of soldering depending on what sort of receiver you get. So you can hook those up very, very simply, and that's going to be running into this bad boy right here. Now this is a very common board to me. I've used this quite a very familiar board, I should say. Now this is the SP F3 racing board. So a fantastic little F3 flight controller. I've used a ton of these in the past. I know some people have had issues where these things have snapped off, these little ports just here. It's never happened to me, so I don't think it's going to happen on this build. But if you were concerned about that, you could just tighten them up with a little bit of hot glue to give them a little bit of extra strength. Now hopefully it's going to be very interesting. Let's plug it into the computer right now and see exactly what firmware it's got on there. Hopefully it's Betaflight. If it's not, it's probably Clean Flight. I'm going to guess that it's Clean Flight, but you never know. But it would be awesome if it was Betaflight. Alrighty, so let's plug this in just here and see what we get. Please be Betaflight. That would be hang on. Wait, okay, it is Betaflight, so let's find out what version. Surely it can't be version. If it's version 3, I'm gonna be amazed. Version. Oh, it's the SPF3 version 2.9. So that is it doesn't matter. It is still on Betaflight, which is insane. This is looking to be one of the best races, ready to fly races I have ever seen. So yeah, so I'll probably be should I update? Yeah, I'll probably be updating this thing to version 3, but awesome that it is actually rocking the Betaflight firmware, because there is not a single quad that I fly without putting on the Betaflight firmware, because in my opinion, it's either Betaflight or go home, unless you're flying KISS. this, which is a whole different story, a whole different kettle of fish. Alrighty, so I'm going to unplug that now, but very, very cool that we actually have some Betaflight on here. If we're moving towards, continuing on with the rest of the quad, towards the front, I guess you can see we've got some little mounts right here, and this actually reminds me of my Drone Wolf pup once again. I think they've got a very, very similar style in the front, so maybe you can see this one has a couple of holes, very, very similar actually to how a lot of HS 1177 mounts have gone. So it simply connects in just here, you screw it into the side, and it clips down. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this is a CMOS camera or a CCD camera. If I had to guess, I would say it was a CCD. And it doesn't actually tell me what voltages this can take either. So on the back, it doesn't have any sort of markings or anything like that. So that's interesting. If you do know some more things about what sort of camera is in the front here, definitely let me know. I'm just trying to struggle to get it back in. Actually, there we go. There's one side. And hopefully the other side can clip in here as well. Now underneath that stack we have our PDB, and you can't really tell too much, but it does look like it's going pretty well. I can see they've got the 5-volt rail in there, but my main thing that I really like is how everything is really nice, squished in, nice and clean. Now towards the end of the craft you can see we've got our XT60 connector right here, so that's going to be good for putting in your battery, because that's a very common battery thing. That's what all my quads are on, and I'd say what 90% of the quads in the world are rocking. And then we have, here's my other pleasant surprise, we have a 200 milliwatt VTX, so a 40 channel, I think it's 40 channel, let me see if I can have a look, a 48 channel, however that works, so heaps of channels, all the channels we need, 48 channel VTX right here, and 200 milliwatts, which in my opinion is the perfect power level, because 25 is probably too weak. You don't get too much penetration through the bushes or anything like that. 600, you're just stomping all over your mate's channels, and it makes it hard to get a lot of pilots in the air. But in my opinion, 200 milliwatts is perfect for flying with 4 or 5 friends, getting together and having an absolute blast. Now this VTX, here's probably something I would like to change, because there is actually a few little things with this quadcopter that would make it even better, but let's talk about some of those as we come across them. The first one, this is RP SMA, and to be honest, most of my antennas, and I think this is because this is how Fat Shark sort of marketed it, but most of my stuff is SMA, so whatever antenna you do decide to get on one of these things, definitely make sure that it's going to be an RP SMA one, so it can match with this little connector right here. And that's, like the Triumph would be a perfect example of something awesome. Now, this brings me to my next point and something that I'd like to change, and I'm going to actually do that right now. See this little part here? This is like a little rubberized grommet, which is great for holding this into place. And then here's the antenna that you get, which I would also like to change, because this is a bit of a whip antenna, but to be honest, this thing still looks big and heavy. So if you're going to give me a whip antenna, either make it super light and direct solder it, or give me one of these. Give me something that's like a circular polarized or a cloverleaf antenna that's going to give me much better, I guess, reception when I'm flying around, no matter where my quad is or what orientation it's in. So that's something I would like to change, would be to get a bit of a better antenna in here, either a lighter whip or just a circular polarized antenna. And then the other tricky part is this doesn't have any pigtail or anything like that. So everybody knows, I guess, or if you're new to the hobby, this is a little tip. Don't turn these on without an antenna on, because that will fry instantly, and there is hardly any room for this to sort of dissipate any of that signal if you don't have the antenna in here. So it is going to melt or pretty much burn out your VTX very, very fast if you plug it in without putting the antenna on. And here's where your problem is. If you try to screw this in as it is now, you really have to screw it down very, very tight, because look, that's fairly firm, probably as firm as I'd put in most of my antennas right now, but I'm not 100% sure if that inner pin is actually making contact with the rest of the wire that runs through here, that middle signal wire, because this little rubberized grommet in the bottom actually stops it from screwing down too much. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually just going to take that off and screw this down anyway, and use the antenna to actually hold it against the quad. So get rid of this, because if it isn't touching and there's the smallest gap in there, you could possibly burn out your VTX, which would be very upsetting. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it back together because there's actually some things on the frame that I'd like to talk about improving as well. So one of them has to do with that little antenna on VTX, but so far everything else is looking awesome. And let's have a look at some of the other parts in the whole frame itself that I would just like to improve or change up just that little bit to make it even better. Rightio, so I've put it back together, and just before I put the antenna on, you can see what I've done just here, because I actually opened it up and while it was open, I put my receiver inside and changed the VTX to the right channel, which was a bit of a nightmare because mine didn't come with any instructions, which was a bit of a letdown. Anyway, so I simply sliced off the top of that, so flat against there, got my Stanley knife, cut it across, so now my VTX antenna can secure nicely down. So I will be changing this out to something like the TBS Triumph a little bit later on, but let's keep this on here for the purpose of the review. And now the only other little change I would probably like to see made is, I wonder if there's a better way to do these bolts, because as it is, you have to take them all out to replace one of the arms, and then you have to even open the inside, especially because of these four. So I wonder if there was a bit of an easier way you can make it so you could take the bolts out all from the same side, because at the moment you've got to access them from both sides. So now that's done, what we should do, let's stick it on the scales and see how much it weighs. So we'll see how much this is coming in at, and it's coming in at 360 grams. So that is a very, very light racer right there. So that's like, and I still can't get over how awesome this thing is. Right, now I guess what we need to do is take it outside and give it a bit of a thrashing around and see if this thing is going to live up to the hype that I feel like it is building. So I am super pumped to take this outside, actually. I wish it wasn't dark outside, because I would be taking this thing for a spin the next chance that I can get. So let's cut down to the field. So let's cut to there in 3, 2, 1. All right, so I've got the Wizard here. We're out in the field, and we're going to give it its maiden. I got to tell you, I am pretty excited. So let's give it a bit of a thrashing around, and then I got another mate over here, Perry. We'll get him to give it a crack. We'll get him to give it a go as well and see what his thoughts on it are. Got this little track here, so hopefully it goes all right. See how we go. Rightio, so here it is in its first ever maiden, straight out of the box, rocking whatever stock PIDs came on it. And I've got to say, its rates did feel a little bit low, but it still had plenty of gusto when you gave it some stick. Flying around, very, very smooth and very, very responsive. Now, something I really loved was just how easy it was to fly and get into the groove. So this is the first time picking this quadcopter up, and yeah, I felt confident to hit some gates and anything. I know quadcopters can be similar, but it felt great flying it around. A really, really easy quad to fly. I didn't have any video issues or anything like that. I felt great when I was doing little flips and acro moves. Very, very responsive, and it did have air mode on. And I got to say, with those props, it was a bit of a rocket. Now I think I do a little bit of an acceleration straight up here, and look how stable that is. That's full stick, so going straight up, and no jitters, no oscillations, nothing like that. And that's all because of Betaflight, and I guess it's just a solid all-round performing quad. So very, very happy with it. One thing I will say though is the motors. You definitely can tell the difference between the motors that are on this, even though they sound like they're the same specs as like the Emax or some of the other 2205, 2300 kV motors. I definitely found myself, I did want a little bit more power, but hey, I'm not going to be complaining when this quad is as cheap as it is. So that's probably one little upgrade. The motors don't have the highest top speed. They probably felt like they were 80% of the top speed of some of the best motors out there, but some of those best motors, they're costing like, for a set of 4 of those, at the same price as this whole entire quad. So I'm definitely very, very happy with this whole budget package we've got right here. Now another thing I wanted to do as well, like just to make this a really thorough review, I wanted to show you some DVR footage. So here it is here, using the standard antenna that comes with it, so no circular polarizer or anything like this, and the CMOS camera. And I got to say, the colors, they're not too bad. Sometimes in the right conditions, like right here, they look so vibrant and so beautiful. But then in other times, it does quickly change, I guess, depending on how you're facing in the sun or sort of what it's looking at. But rock solid video feed. Even when you're putting the throttle all the way down, it feels fantastic. I don't know what I was trying to do there. Maybe some quick back and forth sort of turns and things like that. But yeah, I am so impressed with this quad. What do you reckon, Perry? Tell me, talk to me. What's going on with this this $130 quad?
Yeah, it's really responsive. It turns on a dime too. Like, it's really good. Yeah. I reckon for the money, like, I can't think of another one that you would buy that flies better than this for how much it is.
How would you compare this to some that you've built yourself?
Oh, it's as good, if not better. Probably not quite as good a frame as the Bolt because it's a little bit heavier, but as far as bang for the buck, this is awesome.
Alright. I'm going to ask Trevor too what Trevor thinks. Trevor, what do you reckon of the Wizard flying around?
Oh, I just reckon it's shit. And I'm going to buy one.
Yeah. Sick. Alrighty, so there's some reviews. I think it's like an amazing quad, and Perry and Trev, I'm pretty sure they're going to rush home and buy one just as spares anyway. I mean, for that price, I don't know why you wouldn't do that. Anyway, let's catch you back in the shop. What do you call that? So there it is, there's my review of the Eachine Wizard, the x220, and I'm just going to put this out there right now. I'm going to say this is the best drone I have ever reviewed. So this is my winner of the Drone of the Year award. So I just made that award up right then, and I've reviewed a ton of drones in the past, but I'm going to say this is the best one I have ever reviewed. Not in terms of performance, because I have reviewed some amazing frames and amazing quads in the past, but in terms of value, bang for your buck, and how much I can just recommend this to people to go out there, get an awesome quad that works for an unbeatable price. I think this thing is absolutely amazing. I'd actually like to do a little bit of an experiment, so I'd like to see if you think this quad is not a good buy or you wouldn't recommend this to somebody, look, hit that dislike button on this video, but definitely on the flip side, if you do think that this is a good buy and you would recommend this to people who want to get a second quad or maybe even a first quad, hit that like button, because I'd really be interested to know what you guys think as well. Anyway, I'm going to leave you guys with some flight footage of this thing zipping around, but subscribe for more FPV related content, and as always, happy flying! Oh, please be recording. Good. What do you reckon, boy? Hang on, I'll get you. So I'm not looking directly at the sun. So, what do you reckon?
Yeah,
Love it.
Just
for the price.
Australian dollars, $171.
Yeah.
It's a bargain.
Go get it.
Yeah. Ridiculously good value. I'll give you boys a flight as well.
I can't believe how well it goes.